Hello and welcome to another tutorial of AZMAT System. We'll continue with the curve or rates file discussion. Let's begin by opening the main programs file. File open. And I'm running this from Excel on the directory F. AZMAT.xls from F drive Excel 2010 AZMAT. Open as read only. AZMAT system password. I'm going through this procedure, opening the whole system each time, so you'll get used to it, because every time you start AZMAT system, this is what you need to do. You enter your 2-letter ID and your 4-digit password. Let the user know what's happening, like please wait message. Okay, we are here now. Then after the last Excel menu, add-in will be there, added, and then all the AZMAT system menus, commands will be there from here. So just restore this file. So from add-in, all the Excel AZMAT menus are here underneath. All the Excel commands are above and there. There you can see all the most common menu items and icons I've added here. Very useful. So without having to go through each of these commands to see where they are, I already know where they are. Right, we begin. We'll open from, as I did that, add-in, K menu, open curve for file edit. The reason I'm opening for file edit is then I can do everything, anything with that particular file. Otherwise, when you open for rates edit, only you can change the rates, as you know by now. File edit, ZRUSD, that's the standard curve always. You could always change the currency if you want, but I'll leave that at that. Message to the user, standard file. Right, so open the file edit, and it says that any changes to this file will not take effect unless an AZMAT system command is used at the end of editing. Remember that, it's very important. You will, at certain times, use the actually Excel file save as command, but we'll go into that later. Why? When you're actually creating a new curve file or for a new currency or an existing currency. Those are the only 2 times you'll use Excel file save as. Normally, day to day, when you open a curve for any edit session, either for the rates edit, which is everything in the yellow, there, I scroll down, all this area, that's for the rates edit, because you are changing the rates for the prices, spread, and also the other relevant information, the range. If you want to do anything else, or a whole of the anything in the curve file, then you must open it for file edit. Otherwise, you cannot. It'll just, AZMAT system will not let you do any other changes. So open the curve for file edit if you have the authority to do so. As an investment bank, not all dealers will have that level of authority to change for file edit. Only rates edit, most of them, and some may not even have that, or they might just be able to view it. So we'll go through this curve structure. Some of this might be revision in one of the earlier ones we had done, but this one goes in more detail, each of these items. So for each instrument is like this here. You see the type of instrument: spot, SP for spot, CA for cash, FU for futures, two-letter ones, always we're using that, and then SW for swaps. So these are the financial instruments. So for each instrument, a rates or curve file has data is spread over 7 columns as follows. So as you can see from here, we have from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different items in here. So the type, basis, frequency, all three are in one column, separated by comma each of these. So I'm using basically one column to put three different things. Maturity is when that particular financial instrument matures, or at the end, it reaches at the end of its duration. Bid or rate, price will go here. Bid, offer, spread. The spread, that's the difference between the bid and the offer price, will be here. 3 decimal places, I'm putting them here, whereas the offer price is up to 5 decimal places, you can see there. Mid price, rate of price, is again 5 decimal places here. Mid is basically the difference between the bid and the offer, exactly in the middle of that. That's why it's called mid. Maturity date, when that particular financial instrument ends. So we have here spot 12th of July, cash 14th of August, and so on. Note that this was when the last it was saved, so it was on 10th of July. Today is 11th of July, so it's different. We have not calculated. The AZMAT system has not actually finished its file edit. The user has not finished. We have just opened it. So let's first thing, actually, that's what we should do, is so that it's all relevant to today. Then it'll be a bit more clear why. I'll show you why. For example, here, 10th of July, when it was calculated, settlement is 2 days, so it's 10 plus 2, 12. That's why the spot matures in 2 days' time. And for this particular currency, US dollar curve. For GBP, it's on the same day, so settlement is number of days is 0. So here, this date will be the same as the actual date when it was calculated. So let's first quickly open it just now. No, sorry, not open. We've already opened it. Let's just close it as if we just finished the file edit. So we are talking about the current date. So let's just do that. So add-ins, K, save curve changes. So it's as if I've just opened and finished, changed my everything I wanted to do. So I want to see it for today. So save curve changes. Right, yes, I want to keep changes. Confirm it. Again, this file here for please wait message asking user not to interrupt. Right, it's completed all the required calculations. We will later on in some future tutorial go in detail to see exactly what it does from the time you say, okay, I've finished my changes, and then up to the point you get this message. Okay, so now I'm going to open it. Just before I open, let's save this particular file as well as my data file. Utility menu, save it. So it'll put in the current date and time here, 11th of July, 7:30 a.m. as we speak now, as I speak now. Okay, let's go and open from add-ins. Remember, all AZMAT system commands can be reached from add-ins. Then you get the actual AZMAT system menus. If you don't click that, you have access to all the Excel commands, but not the AZMAT system. You can use certain AZMAT system commands by using the control keys. As you may remember, we've seen an earlier one we did to calculate the present value, yield, duration, and discount factors, and the internal rate of return, IRR, etc. So let's open that curve file. Open the curve for file edit. It'll keep the last currency I put in here, fine. I'm opening this again for file edit just to go through this whole procedure, which I'm going to be. We are not actually going to do any editing. Doing that because in this way I can go around everywhere, go through the formula. Whereas if I open in view, I wouldn't be able to do it in this particular version of Excel. Later version of Excel do not. Earlier Excel versions of Excel you could see move about, but in this particular version, which is Excel 2010 and later ones, you cannot do certain things which you would want to. But anyway, by opening in file edit, it's open file edit, I can go anywhere I want to see and move the cursor. Right, for each instrument, the instruments are these: spot, cash, futures, swaps are below. The data is over 7 columns, as we said before. Right, the first one, all data is entered by the user, type, basis, frequency. Everything is you, the user, or a typical user in an investment bank, the dealer, would be doing that. Maturity column there. Sorry, maturity date is there, but this is the actual maturity type of the particular, for that particular financial instrument. So we're saying here, right, just the spot means there the same day, whereas the cash, not necessarily same day, I shouldn't say same day, it's actually settlement will be here, like here in the 2 days or 0 days, for instance, for British pound sterling GBP currency settlement is on the same day. So the number of days would be 0. Whereas in this particular instance, US dollar curve settlement is in 2 days. That means you actually, when you pay for it, if you like, from the time or from the date of transaction. So the maturity, all non-future data is entered by the user. The non-future data, that is, we have the futures are here, as you can see. I'm just going to scroll it down so we can concentrate on the whole of this curve apart, because we're not going to go through anything about that for the moment. So let's just go scroll it down. Right, I can just about see up to there, 30 years, the last swap. So we'll just scroll up a bit so we can see here. Okay, this is only a couple of rows below, but there is very similar to here. So maturity column there, type, basis, frequency is there, spot, and then basis to frequency is annual in this case, and so on. Maturity spot as it is, whereas in here, cash, you say maturity is 1 month, or another cash, 3 months, and so on. So all non-future data. So future data is here, futures 1 to 12. Non-future data is all here, anything other than that in this particular column, so maturity. So there, those 3 rows, and everything below that. If I scroll it down, there, you can see up to, and the Y stands for year. So 3 years, 4 years, and so on, all the way up to 30 years. M stands for month, so it's 1 month, 3 months, spot, same day. So we just go slightly there, we can see that one go. Okay, so all non-future data, that is that and that is entered by the user. So the user will be doing, user can also choose to enter the appropriate future number followed by a space and hyphen. So in here, for example, user can also enter, if you can see here, say, for example, first future, F1 space and a hyphen, which or the minus sign. So you can enter, you can choose to enter it, but you don't have to. And then the expiry month and year. So you can say, for example, here, F1 space hyphen or minus sign, space, in this case is September, so just the first 3 characters of the month, Sep for September, space, the year in 2 letters, the last 2 digits. So it's 2017, so I'm putting 17. So the user can also choose to enter the appropriate future number followed by a space and hyphen, and then the expiry month and year. However, the user need only enter the characters up to and including the hyphen in each row. For example, F1 space hyphen, F2 space hyphen, and so on. Or F12 to the last future date. Last future is F12 space hyphen. Because then AZMAT system will take over from there and start entering the maturity dates. The months would be different. So you do not need to worry about entering the whole lot, because you can, if you like, enter the whole lot, but you do not need to. Features are every quarter. In this case, as you can see, the quarter frequency is FREQ, short for frequency, quarter, Q for quarter. Once you've done that, then use update future dates command. So by entering, for example, F1 space hyphen, F2 space hyphen, all the way up to, in this case, F12 space hyphen, not actually having to enter all the month and the year expiry. All you need to do is just that, F1 space hyphen, F2 space hyphen, all the way up to the last future, and then click Add in, K menu, for all the curve commands are here, and then use update future dates command. So then, if you use when you use the update future dates command from the K menu of AZMAT system, then AZMAT system will update all the future dates, enter the appropriate month and the year for each future row. So, just to recap, I'm going to cancel this, cancel that, back to normal here. Enter F1 space hyphen, F2 space hyphen, all the way up to F12 space hyphen. Remember, for some other currency, for example, Japanese yen, JPN, JPY currency, you will have only 8 futures. They do not have 12 futures. So different currencies have different number of futures. So enter the number of futures there, and then you select the appropriate number of rows. In this case, it'll be F12, and then use add-in commands, add-ins, K menu, and then use the update future dates. So when you do that, then AZMAT system will enter the appropriate future expiry month and year in each future row of the maturity column. For example, in this case, we have F8 space hyphen space June 2019. Just the last 2 digits of the year. so 19, so on. Next one, we won't actually go through doing this. We've done it before, but we will do it later if necessary. Right now, I'm just going through each of these columns. Bid rate price. If the name of the bid1 underscore offer 0 equal to 1, bid rates are entered by the user. We went through in another tutorial briefly, or quite detailed, but we'll just go briefly here just to show you. So if you go here, define names, name manager, bid1 offer 0, that's the name of the variable. So when it's 1, it means you're telling AZMAT System to enter the bid prices, that you are entering the bid prices, and it should calculate the offer price. I'll move this here. You're telling AZMAT System that I'm entering bid prices here and the spread, which is the difference between bid and offer. And AZMAT System will then go ahead, calculate the offers by putting simple formulas, add the two together. When this is 0, you're letting AZMAT System know that you are entering the offer prices. And then AZMAT System should offer prices and the spread, and the system will simply subtract the spread from the offer to calculate the bid. So bid 1. So when it's 1, the value of this variable is 1, we are entering the bid prices, as is in this case by the yellow color indicates that. Okay, so if the name bid1 name or range name bid1 underscore offer 0. Remember, this character is underscore, not hyphen or minus, which we are using here. That is hyphen or minus sign. This one is underscore. So when this character is used, and here we use this to treat this as just another alphabetic character as if. It can be used to define names, to join, if you like, certain different parts of the name, if you want to. You don't have to, you could have written just bid1 offer 0, but it will all be very confusing. So I'm using underscore here. You cannot use minus in the name. So it has to be either underscore, cannot be a space either. So I'm using that. So if the name bid1 offer 0 underscore offer 0 equal to 1, bid rates are entered by the user. And when the bid1 offer 0 equal to 0, offer rates are entered by the user, because the bid rates are calculated by AZMAT System by subtracting the bid offer spread from the offer rate. So you enter the offer rate. When it's 0, you enter the offer price or rate, and AZMAT System will subtract the spread from there to calculate the bid rate. Bid offer spread is entered by the user always, whatever the value of bid1 offer 0. Whether you're entering the bid prices by having the name of this variable 1, or entering offer prices by having the name of this variable 0, spread, bid offer spread, the difference between bid and offer prices is always entered by the user. AZMAT System does not enter this. We've already gone through the offer one. It's the offer rate price. In order to enter that, when you're entering that, make sure the value of this variable is 0. That's why I've got the offer next 0 is next to offer. So to remind you, 1 is next to bid, adjacent to bid. That means to remind you that value of this variable, when it's 1, you're entering bid price. When it's 0, you're entering offer prices. Mid rate of price. Mid rate of price. This is simply middle of the bid and offer prices, always calculated by AZMAT System. The maturity date. If I just move it slightly more, maturity date. Maturity of the instrument here. So I'm just going to come out of this, close that, and just go through very briefly here. In this case, for example, on the spot for US dollar curve, today's date is 11th of July, as we've got here. Settlement is in 2 days, so the spot maturity date is 11 plus 2, 13th of July. Now, then the other one, we have the 1 month. We will go through these later on, exactly why in this particular instance we have got the, for example, the settlement for the 1 month of the, instead of here, see the spot is 2 days, settlement 2 days, 11th of July, and this, so maturity date is Thursday, 13th of July. Because today is Tuesday. However, 1 month, cash instrument, 1 month, maturity is 1 month. So you might think it should be 11 plus 2 and 1 month more. That means 13th of August. Why has it got 14th of August? That is because 13th of August 2017, if you look on the calendar, it's a Sunday. In here, we have said AZMAT System, by putting a 1 here, avoid Saturday or Sunday by putting 1 here. We have been through this bit in an earlier tutorial, so we won't go into that detail now. Just to let you know, that's why the maturity here, AZMAT System has put the date Monday, 14th of August. Because 13th of August, 1 month from now, plus 2 days, 2 settlement days, comes to 13th of August. And 13th of August is Sunday, so it's put the date to come to the following working day, Monday, 14th of August. 3 months from now, cash, 3 months from now, plus 2 days settlement, so 11 plus 2, 13. Take that, so July, so it's October, August, September, October. 13th of October is a Friday, so it does not need to change the date because it is a working day here for this. So 3 months is that. So remember, this one here, 14th of August, is only because 13th of August is a Sunday. If you did not have 1 here, if this was left blank, or 0, or something else, anything other than 1, then AZMAT System will really follow your instructions and not avoid Saturday or Sunday. This would be 13th of August. But obviously, this is it's a business. We're not playing about. So in this case, in business, there would not be any settlement here in US dollar curve for that on a Sunday. So that's why we have always, you usually keep this 1 here, always, so that it'll avoid any weekend days. You can also have it avoid, AZMAT System instructed to avoid other special days or bank holidays or some special days for different currencies, if you wanted to. This special date here. There can be special dates for this particular file in here. Whereas these special dates are for each of these currencies, like Deutschmark for Germany, German holidays, GBP for British, JPY for Japanese, and US dollar, USD for USA holidays. Special dates for those currencies, for those countries. We define them by just using the currency of that country. So the maturity date, all data is calculated by AZMAT System. Now we go back here to the first column, type, basis, and frequency in detail, more detail. First one, type, refers to the type of instrument. Calling instrument, there are financial instruments, so cash, spot, cash, futures, swaps. So the type refers to the type of instrument. This can only be, there are only 4 types. It can be SP for spot, CA for cash, FU for futures, and SW for swaps. Swaps are below, so here we go back here, say SW for swaps. Basis refers to the day count basis. Now we will go in more detail later on, but right now, just remember that the basis can only be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's the instrument separated by a comma, then we put down the basis. It can only be either 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. We will go into detail later on exactly why and when. Frequency, FREQ, using short for frequency in order to fit in this particular column. The frequency refers to the frequency of coupon. That is, or in other words, interest, which is either received or paid. So the frequency of coupon, this can only be A for annual, S for semi-annual, that is twice a year, Q for quarterly, so 4 times a year, every quarter, and M for month. Okay, in this particular file, we do not have any, in this particular frequency here. We've used A for annual, we used Q for quarterly, and A for annual, all the swaps here, as you can see down there. But there are some other currencies where you will use that. But for now, it can only be A, remember A, S, Q, and M. So the basis can only be 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And the financial instrument type can only be spot, SP, CA for cash, FU for futures, SW for swaps. There must always be 6 characters in the first column, including comma separators. So we have 2 for the financial instrument type. Just going to go back up. So it's 2, then a comma, then a number, which can be 0 to 4, and then another, the comma, and then a letter, the SQ and M. So it'll be 2 plus 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there must always be 6 characters in the first column, including the comma separators. The first row below the type basis frequency heading must contain a spot instrument, SP. So as soon below the heading, first column, whatever currency you're using must always have a spot instrument, SP. And the second row, a cash instrument, CA. You cannot start futures right from the beginning or swaps in the first instrument. And you cannot start cash from the first either. Very important. The first row must contain spot, SP. Second one must contain CA for cash. You may or may not have the second cash. You could, then that is fine. For example, the future could start from here, but the futures cannot start there or there. Similarly, swaps cannot start there or there. So these are the things you will get used to it as you start using it more frequently. But we'll just go briefly at this point, just to go through, and then later on we'll go in more detail as to why and when. So there must always be 6 characters in the first column, including the comma separator. The first row below the type basis frequency heading must contain a spot instrument, SP. And the second row, a cash instrument, CA. Second column contains maturity. Maturity refers to the maturity or expiry of the instrument in the first column. So this maturity column, for example, in this case, a spot is a spot, refers to the spot is on the same day, same time. Cash is in 1 month. Second row of the cash in 3 months. So that's why I have 3M. When the instrument type is SP, this can only be in the first row below type basis frequency heading. Just to remind you again, very important. If settlement is in 0 days, for example, as in GBP curve, maturity must be TN or ON. So for GBP, if this curve was a GBP curve, then the maturity will not be SP, it will be TN or O stroke N, T stroke N or O stroke N, overnight. If settlement is in 1 or more days, for example, as in US dollar, settlement is in 2 days, maturity must be SP. Okay. For GBP curve, this will be either T, capital T stroke N, or capital O stroke N. Whereas for anything else, almost any currency which does not have a settlement in 0 days, its settlement is 1 or more days, then this maturity column must be SP for spot instrument. In the second row below, type basis frequency heading and all subsequent rows below it, when the instrument type is cash CA, when the instrument is CA, maturity must be in the form small n, small w, or small n, capital W, where n can be any integer. And the letters W, small w, or capital W represent week, or small m or capital M represent month, and small y or capital Y represent year. Right. So you can have, it doesn't matter whether it's small letter m or capital letter M, still means month. Can be year, for example, in swaps, swaps, 3Y for 3 years, and so on. So from the second row below the spot instrument, remember this will not always be SP. This will always be SP in the type. The maturity can be the SP, ON, O/N, or T/N. So the row below that, which is a cash instrument, must always be cash instrument, this one, second row. So when the instrument is, the maturity must be in the form either, so in this row or below and all below, it must always be for the non-instrument, non-features we're talking about. So it must always be either NW, so N stands for any number. In this case, 1, or in this case, it's 3. And it could be weeks as well, not just month. So you use W for week, M for month, Y for year. Whether you use it lowercase or uppercase, it doesn't matter. When the instrument type is SW, like in here, maturity must be in the form NM, so number, and either month or year, NY, NM or NY. So N can be any integer in the letters M or M. Capital M or small m doesn't matter. Lowercase or uppercase represent month. Lowercase or uppercase Y represent year. When the instrument type is FU, that is the futures, for example, maturity must be in the form F, capital F and small n, where n can be any integer between 1 and 99. So you can have futures, like in this case F1 up to F12 in here, but you can have up to 99. And there must be at least one space after the n character. So one space after the n. So n is n, remember it's not n. N can be any number, small n. So capital F followed by a number. In this case is 1, 10, 11, and so on, all the way up to 99. So there must be a space after the number. And before the hyphen. So you have F1 space hyphen. You cannot don't put the hyphen right next to the number. These are very important points I'm referring to. As you will notice, when we actually do the calculations of all these maturity, the grid points, the dates, you will see why it has to be so. These things quite specific. But as you get used to it, you start using it frequently, it'll all get almost second nature to you. So don't worry too much about it. And it's all in what I'm saying to you. You'll also find them all in the AZMAT System online help file. So when the instrument type is futures, FU, maturity must be in the form FN, where n can be any number between 1 and 99, and there must be a space after the actual number feature and before the hyphen. At least one space. You can put more if you want to, but let's just stick to one. Simple. So for example, we have here F5 space hyphen and then September, September space 18. Or we have here F11 space hyphen space March MAR space 20 for 2020. So this is the 11th future, and it expires in March 2020. This is the 5th future, expires in September 2018. First future is expires in September 2017 in this case. So these values will change, these months, and so on. So will the maturity date, depending on when the file is calculated. This file is calculated today on the 11th of July 2017. And that's why, and these dates refers to the maturity date. For example, for a spot is 13th of July because settlement date is in 2 days. So 11 plus 2, 13. That's why 13th July. First cash instrument 1 month would be 13th of August, which is a Sunday. So AZMAT System has put it to the following working day, which is Monday, 14th of August, because you, the user, has indicated to AZMAT System, instructing to AZMAT System to avoid Saturday or Sunday. So that's why when this date, one of the dates, in this case, maturity date falls on a Sunday, it puts it to the following working day, that is Monday. So the user can choose to enter the appropriate future number followed by a space and hyphen, and then the expiry month and year. So, for example, you could have chosen yourself if you wanted to. Since we are in July now, the first future would be September. So we have here, for example, as you can see, for every quarter features are every quarter frequency there, and falling. So it's March, June, September, December. So we are in July now. July, currently July. So the next future, the first future actually is, future is always by its very nature, than the name, future. So we cannot have, the first future cannot be June, for example, because we are in July now. So the first future will be September 2017, because we are in July 2017 now. We'll know exactly when this future changes later on. We'll go into that detail later on. So the user can choose to enter the appropriate future number followed by a space and hyphen, and then the expiry month and year. However, the user need only enter the characters up to and including the hyphen in each row. Remember, you do not need to enter the month and the year. Any of these. You could simply enter F1 space hyphen, F2 space hyphen, and so on. All the way, in this case, F12 space hyphen, if you want to. You can choose to enter. You do not have to. If we do that, then use the update feature dates command as we saw earlier on from the K menu. Then if you did that, so that then the AZMAT System can see at a glance the future expiry month and year. So note that the result of this command is only for the benefit of the user, right? So it's only for you, September 17, December 17, second future, whatever. AZMAT System doesn't use this column. Uses this particular maturity dates column, exact date, and that to see when the feature expires. This is for the user's benefit. So you can see at a glance when the feature expiring month and year. AZMAT system always carries out all calculations according to the dates which it displays in the maturity date column. These are the dates AZMAT system uses. Remember, these here for futures, all this here is spot 1 month, 3 months, whatever, or 3 by, and so on. They're only for your benefit, the user. AZMAT system uses these values in order to calculate, depending on all the other, and some other characters calculated till the days. Right. So next bit, third column, contains bid rate price, rate or price, whatever you want to call it. If the name bid1 of a 0 equal to 1, as we've gone through this so many times, you should know it by heart now. And this 1 in the name itself, bid1 underscore offer 0 itself reminds that when the value of this is 1, bid prices are entered. When is the value of this variable bid1 offer 0 equal to 0, offer prices are entered by the user, and then the other one is calculated by AZMAT system. If the name bid1 underscore offer 0 equal to 1, the bid rate price of each instrument is entered by the user in each row. For spot 1 month, 3 months, you're entering the price for by the user during a rates edit or a file edit session. If the name bid1 offer 0 equal to 0, the bid rate price of each instrument is calculated by AZMAT system by entering formula in the appropriate rows at the end of each file edit session. Therefore, the user should not change the contents of this column during the file edit session. Any changes made in this column by the user are ignored by the system and replaced by the newly entered formula. So if you put in this particular case, for example, let's do the current one. Current one, this is all yellow here. That means bid rate prices are entered in this particular curve, US dollar curve for that. And so the value of the bid1 underscore offer 0 variable is 1. If you go and see that here, we'll see name manager, bid1 offer 0 equal to 1, because we are entering the bid prices. So AZMAT system enters this formula here in each row and calculates. So in a rates edit session, AZMAT system would not even allow the user to go anywhere here, there, or wherever. The user can only go in these later sessions of Excel. The user can only change the actual rates, bid rates or prices, and the spread and these ranges. If, however, in a file edit session, if you're going, you can change anything. So if you change enter the prices here, those prices will be ignored by AZMAT system because it's not going by what you're entering here. It's going by the name of that particular variable we saw earlier, bid1 underscore offer 0. If you name that variable, if the value of that variable is 1, it assumes that you're entering bid prices, and it will calculate, AZMAT system will calculate the offer prices by entering formula in each and every cell of this column. So if you do enter prices here, whatever, incorrectly, instead of entering bid, you enter prices offer, it will actually calculate by entering a formula, overwrite whatever you entered entering the formula. So do not get that variable wrong. In fact, you cannot really get it wrong unless you deliberately wanted to do so. Because at the time, only one time you really need to know about it is when you create the curve file. Or if you like to, if you're changing from bid to offer prices entering, or from offer to bid. At that point, you will change the name of that variable. So if the name bid1 offer 0 equal to 0, so let's just quickly go. If it's equal to 1, you are entering the bid prices during a rate edit or file edit session. If the bid1 underscore offer 0 equal to 0, then the bid rate price of each instrument is calculated by AZMAT System by entering formula in the appropriate rows at the end of each file edit session. Therefore, the user should not change the contents of this column during a file edit session. Any changes made in this column by the user are ignored by AZMAT System and replaced by the newly entered formula. Fourth column, bid offer spread. Bid offer spread of each instrument is entered by the user during a rates edit or a file edit session. Whatever the value of the bid1 underscore offer 0 variable is, whether it's 0 or 1, user always enters this column, this spread. Fourth column, bid offer spread. The bid offer spread of each instrument is entered by the user during a rates edit or a file edit session. Bid offer spread, you enter it whatever the value of the variable is. Fifth column, offer, rates, or price. Again, just to remind you, if the name bid1 underscore offer 0 equal to 0, then offer rate price is entered by the user, only then. If the value of that variable is 1, then the offer or rate price is calculated by AZMAT System, as in this case. This cell contains, in each row, simply sum of this. This is equal to that, plus that equal to that. Note that in here, you may have noticed that non-financial instrument, so non-futures, as you saw here, in here it's all positive. Again, here below the futures, it's always positive, they spread. But in futures, they spread, as you notice here, F1 to F12, all negative. We'll go into that later on why. But for now, just bear that in mind. The investment, the dealer working in an investment bank would know that, or should know that. Right, so the fifth column contains the offer rate price, and so it will either be entered by the user if the value of the bid1 spread offer 0 equal to 0, or if it's equal to 1, then calculated by AZMAT System. If the name bid1 offer 0 underscore offer 0 equal to 0, the offer rate price of each instrument is entered by the user during the rates edit or file edit session. If the name bid1 underscore offer 0 equal to 1, the offer rate price of each instrument is calculated by AZMAT System by entering the formula in the appropriate rows at the end of each file edit session. Right, the AZMAT System will enter the formula at the end of the file edit session, because in the rates edit session, you will not be able to. AZMAT System will not allow the user to change the formula anyway. The user can only change the yellow columns, everything which is in the yellow area. That's the area user can change during a rate edit session. But in a file edit session, user can, if they want to go and change something, but AZMAT system will override those changes if they are entered incorrectly, or the way they should not be. So even if you did enter something here, you'll notice that it will actually be overwritten. So you should not enter any changes. Do not change the contents during file edit. Although theoretically you can, but do not change. Any changes you made will be ignored by AZMAT system anyway, and it will replace it by the actual formula, which should be remember, using the value of the name bid1 underscore offer 0. Depending on that, the value of that name, it will either enter formula in this column or formula in that column. Sixth column contains mid rate or price. Mid rates of price. The middle, short for middle, rate of price of each instrument is calculated by AZMAT system by entering formula in the appropriate rows at the end of each file edit session. Again, it will do so only at the end of the file edit session. And the rate edit session, it does not do any of these entering these formulas. It does not enter the formula because it doesn't need to. Because the user would not have been, it would not have been possible for the user to change that particular column. Okay, so the mid-rate price of each instrument is calculated by AZMAT system by entering the formula in the appropriate rows at the end of each file edit session. Therefore, the user should not change the contents of this column during the file edit session. Because if you change it, it will just be ignored and overwritten by AZMAT system. Any changes made in this column by the user are ignored and replaced by the formula, which basically is saying same row, -3, so 1, 2, 3, 3 columns to the left, plus same row, 2 columns to the left. So it's that plus that divided by 2, because that plus half of the spread. Bid price plus half of the spread. Spread is the difference between bid and offer. So half of the spread added to the bid price will give the middle price. Or in the other case where you're entering the offer prices, you have offer price minus half of the spread will give that mid price. Last column, maturity date column, 7th column, contains maturity. The maturity date of each instrument is calculated and entered by AZMAT system in the appropriate rows at the end of each file edit session. Again, during a rates edit, it does not need to calculate these because user wouldn't have been able to change anything other than just the actual bid price or the offer price and the spread column, plus the ranges here in yellow area. Since the user would not have been able to change any of is not able to change any of the actual dates or maturities of these instruments, there's no need for AZMAT system to calculate the actual maturity date at the end of a rate edit session. However, at the end of a file edit session, it will always calculate. It will calculate all the formulae, as you see in blue color, So in this case, calculating the offer prices, the mid price, and the maturity date column. So user should not change the contents of this column during the file edit session. There's no point you changing any of these values. Although theoretically you can, because the file edit, AZMAT System will let you change anything, anywhere you like, but it's pointless changing any of these blue columns or where you find a particular formula here, because those values are calculated by AZMAT System at the end of the file edit session. And if you have entered anything in any of these columns, they will just be overwritten. It will be ignored, and AZMAT System will replace by the newly calculated values. Okay, for now we will stop at this point, and we'll continue with this and other things at another tutorial. We'll go through in detail to see why you would use this, for example, the basis 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. So it's quite, if this subject is completely new to you, you might find it quite complex perhaps, but once you learn these, it will become second nature. You will be able to straight away enter it. Or even if you actually have to refer to see, like for example, number 2, what it means does not matter, because once you know, you refer to the AZMAT System help file is there, you don't have to remember it all. You can look at it and then enter it correctly. And it's not like every day you're entering these. These, that, plus that, they're all entered at the time you create the curve, or if you want to change it, the whole curve structure or something, which will not be that often. So then you'll do that. And once you've entered that, that's it. You can leave it that. And the only thing you'll be changing on a daily basis, or maybe changing, because you don't necessarily you would need to change it every single day, are these columns, either bid price or the offer price, only one or the other, this or that, and you'll also enter the spread, plus define this range. These ranges for either future price range and non-future price. The future price range means the future prices in this, the one I'm entering here, for example, from there to there. These are the futures. So the future price range or the non-future price range would be there, plus the one here on the other side of futures there. And the spread range of the spread, what it should be, minimum and maximum. Okay, we'll stop right now and we'll continue in another session of AZMAT System tutorial.